Hello and welcome to another fun-filled episode of the Nonsense Retrospective. I am your host as always, Rick, and joining me equally as always is Devon.
There really is nothing funny I can say here, so hello!
And before we get into the meat and potatoes of everything, let's start with our time-honoured nonsense asinine hypotheticals. And you said you got one for me.
I do. If you could take any two weapons and make a bastardized hybrid version of a mega weapon by fusing the two, what would you do? And how would you do it? These could be completely fictional bullshit weapons that only work via magic if need be, because I realise this question is actually kind of hard.
Probably going to be a chainsaw lightsaber. It's so stupid, but you know.
The funny thing is I've watched the first 3 episodes of Star Wars Visions, and it's not dumber than the shit you see in that.
Yep.
Not to say that's a bad thing, I like dumb lightsaber ideas, but boy are they dumb!
Yeah, if you make every single tooth out of the chainsaw out of a lightsaber, then yeah, you've got a cool thing.
Which is probably less effectual than an actual lightsaber.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same cutting, but it's also got the motorized effect of a chainsaw, which is the reason why a chainsaw is good rather than a normal saw.
Yeah, but because it's made out of a lightsaber shit, it will do the same thing as a regular lightsaber. Like, lightsabers go through most things anyway, so you don't really need the extra force that a chainsaw gives. And it also loses its wieldy as like a deflective tool if it's shaped like a chainsaw, you know?
Yeah, there is a thing actually in Star Wars expanded canon. They call it the broadsaber, and it is literally like a broadsword that you can only cut with the edges, not the flat of it. And the masters don't like it because you can't cut with the flat of it.
It's also kind of ridiculous because that's literally kind of the opposite of a broadsword. My understanding of a broadsword is they're meant more for actually thrusting into things with the tip.
Yeah, and you still can do that with the broadsaber because the tip is still lightsaber.
This is why lightsabers are dumb, because any design that just doesn't give you more saber is ridiculous and pointless and actually takes away from the weapon.
Yeah.
But yes, do you have one for me, Rick?
Yeah, the one that I have for you is you get the chance to design a creature. What does this creature have? What role does it fill? And what is it?
That's a very broad question, Rick.
I'll narrow it down to a furry animal.
I don't know, man. I feel like there's not much you can do that hasn't already been done.
Okay.
Like, I like dogs. I'll make a dog that can talk.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Fair enough. A dog that can talk and then can be the translator for other dogs.
I don't know, man. I just feel like I'd like a dog that could talk to me, because I love my dogs and they're very cuddly and affectionate, and I like to cuddle them and play with them and have generic fun as a dog owner. But one of the worst things about owning a dog is they're manipulative little shits.
Yeah, they are.
A thing the old dog likes to do is, for no fucking reason, she likes to lift up her arm, one of her front legs as if it's fucking broken, because she knows if she does this, she might get treats. And everybody in the house knows she does this, so she gets ignored. However, the younger dog did not do this. However, the younger dog has learned that if she does this, she might get some sympathy and extra treats. So now the younger dog does it as well, which means
that if one of them is ever in pain, you're never gonna know.
Pretty much. And when they are distressed, you can never say, what is wrong with you? Because that's not how it works. So if you had a dog that could talk, it's just like, what is wrong with you? It's like, my leg feels weird. Okay, we can fix this. But yeah, I'll have a dog that could talk to me. If you're not a dog person, it could be a cat, but cats are arseholes and will gossip about you.
If a cat could talk to you, it would choose not to.
Anyway, I should probably ask Rick, what are we doing today?
Today, we are going to talk about fan stuff. Fan art, fan fiction, fan songs even.
Fan films, fan games.
Yeah. And we'll define that as anything that's meant to be set in the same universe as the thing that it's a fan work of. The quick disclaimer, on Nonsense Retrospective, we do tend to gush about things that we like, but the nature of today's show means that not everything we pick out will get the gush treatment. We don't mean to make fun of any creators involved. We hope any exposure because of us is positive, and just take anything that we say with a grain of salt. We're not the absolute be-all and end-all in terms of authorities on things. Our opinion is not gospel.
For all intents and purposes, guys, the one thing I've chosen to talk about today is infamous for being quite shit, and everyone involved knows it's shit, so much so that they claim it's parody. So therefore, I think it's fair game.
Mm-hmm. Now, fan art is potentially the simplest form of fan work, though not necessarily the easiest to create, based solely on the merit that it can be consumed incredibly quickly. You can just go look at a piece of fan art and go, cool, and then that's your entire interaction done. So unless you go looking, you're unlikely to find a lot of bad fan art, because the people who have their work circulated tend to be the good ones.
I mean, case in point, I went to Comic-Con recently, and I bought a shit ton of fan art.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's gonna go on my wall.
Yeah, after it ousts the previous occupant of the wall. As a little aside to last week's episode that we did, the one little thing I really love is because when people are within a creative team and they do their own little mini semi-canon bits of fan art, I say that as an aside because we mentioned a couple of artists from Hololive who are active talents, but they also do fan art of their own senpais, kohais, and...
Ina, we love you, but you gotta stop.
She don't gotta stop. Some of her art streams are some of her best.
I like watching Ina do artwork. I like watching artists do artwork, especially if they're able to talk while they're doing it, which is a very rare fucking skill.
Yeah. Ina does them, Callie does them, and I think Marine does them as well from the JP side.
Can I ask a very quick question?
Yep.
Was it Ina who drew one of the other girls incredibly thick and Kiara just melted?
Maybe.
I remember they all drew each other for their little self-portraits during a game, and Ina drew someone with incredibly big thighs.
Oh, no, that was Callie. Callie drew Kiara with real cool, real nice, and real pinchable thighs. Ina drew an arrow, and then she said, I don't know who drew that arrow, but I agree.
Of course Kiara should have thick thighs. She's a chicken.
Yeah. Some of these things are revealed to be fan work within the universe. Like Fiona and Cake was created by one of the members of staff of Adventure Time. And then in universe, it's revealed to be the Ice King's personal fanfic, except maybe not really.
I didn't actually know that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So it started as something that one of the members of staff just did as a joke and posted up on Twitter. And everyone liked it, so they made an episode out of it.
And thus the Wall 34 fans went wild.
So comics are kind of like the middle ground between fan art and fan fiction.
I want to actually draw your attention to a quote that I got from you ages ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, all modern day comics are actually just fan fiction.
I mean, yeah, because unless you're creating a character now, which even if you are, you're doing it in a universe that exists, you're creating fan fiction of a character that someone else made 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Man, do you remember my reaction when you first said that?
Fuck off.
It wasn't fuck off, it was mildly funnier, and that was, I don't like it because it's too true.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't like it is, it's not a very nice thing to acknowledge, but we have to acknowledge it. Fanfic writers are not held in very high esteem, shall we say.
No.
Calling someone basically a fanfiction writer is quite insulting to most people.
Yeah.
Even though it's not necessarily intended that way, just because something is fanfiction doesn't make it inherently bad. Although we have to admit and have to acknowledge that a lot of fanfiction is written by people who aren't very eloquent, aren't very good at prose, don't know how to write well, and therefore it is poor.
If they were really good writers, they'd be an actual writer.
Okay, here's the funny thing. I'm pretty sure that's something Stephen King says a lot. The thing I like about Stephen King is he doesn't shit on fanfiction writers so much as his exact words are, if you want to write, you should make up your own toys and play in your own sandbox and not borrow someone else's. Which I think is a acceptable middle ground of not outright condemning it, but also not encouraging it. It's just like, okay, if you can write, stop writing fanfiction and write something original.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's one of those where as soon as you start using your own things, that's when you have entire control over it. It's sometimes nice to have the grounding of an established canon to fall back on. Like D&D is normally done within the confines of an established canon. You normally have a world in which everything takes place, and you can fall back on some established tropes and established lore.
Hey, you guys are all level 10 and I can't be asked to write an adventure today, so we're doing Curse of Strahd.
Yep. Like, literally the next thing I was going to say before you said that was, oh yeah, fuck it, I can't be bothered, we're doing vampires right now.
Oh, Jesus, it's such an easy fucking thing, isn't it?
Yeah. If you're strong enough to withstand the vampires, then they're a credible threat. Go. But yeah, in the noughties, it became very popular to make sprite comics. So if you weren't traditionally artistically talented, this doesn't mean in any way that the creator isn't creative. One of the most famous sprite comics is, it's called Bob and George. It's based on Mega Man. And a lot of people made comics back in the day, still make comics. It's not quite as popular now as it used to be in the early noughties, I believe. But still, there's quite a lot of it going around.
I have mentioned this website before, but I used to hang around Drunk Duck, which is a webcomic archive. At one point, about 7 out of 10 of the top 10 were sprite comics.
Yes.
I used to read a lot of them, especially Sonic ones, despite the fact I don't really care about Sonic.
Yeah, because there's a lot of them. Like, you will find some.
It's also very easy to make original characters in Sonic using sprites, because it takes 2 seconds to go into... We use GIMP, where you just go, okay, replace all the blue on Sonic with green, and give him a little hat. There you go, this is my OC in my sprite comic.
Yep.
But more importantly than that, there is actually a fun little webcomic, which wasn't actually sprites, it was a little bit more inventive, shall we say. It was called Alien Love loves Predator.
Okay.
This dude had an Alien action figure and a Predator action figure, and he used to make comics by posing them and taking free pictures of them in different poses, and then he'd add the dialogue on his creative program of choice, and then boom, webcomic.
That's actually kind of cute.
It was hilarious. It was about an alien and a predator sharing an apartment in New York. It was dumb. It was great. I loved it.
Puppet toy comics.
Yeah. I vaguely recall there was one comic where the big issue was the alien went for a piss and melted the toilet because his piss is made out of acid.
Now, we talked a little bit about how you can make a Sonic OC real quickly by editing the colours and things. And a big part of Fanworks is the fan characters. Usually they're some remix of an existing character.
I also think we should probably expand a little bit on this, in that a lot of people have an OC without realising it.
Yeah.
Me and you both play a lot of video games, Rick. And a thing video games like to do nowadays is the main character is actually a custom character, meant to represent you within the world, as it were.
Yeah, you get a paper doll. Sometimes they are a person in the world and you just get to customise everything about them.
And the only reason I bring this up is I wouldn't call it an OC, but I make the same character in everything when I can, because whenever I play a game where they have you create a custom character to be your PC, as it were, the player character, I always make the same character or as close to it, because in my mind it's like, cool, this is now a representative of me in the universe. And they're always called Garland and they're always a white dude. They usually have face paint.
Like one of those custom PC that you can customize. It's always nice to be able to have that degree of customizability because it lets you establish your control over that story to a degree.
Sure. I also want to point out as well, I'm actually broaching on a topic which is, well, it's either popular or hated. I don't know. I'm not really that with it nowadays in the fanfiction community of the good old self-insert OC.
Yeah.
You know what this is, I'm sure.
Yeah, TV Tropes calls it the Mary Sue.
No, that is a different thing entirely.
However, the original Mary Sue was a self-insert. She was a Star Trek fan character who was like 16 years old and married to Captain Kirk.
Kirk makes sense because that dude was all about the sex. I thought you were going to say Spock, and I was like, Spock is so boring.
Like, even the very first one was a parody. The very first Mary Sue was very definitely a parody.
I've got a very quick question.
Yeah.
How did people share fan fictions in the 60s? Would it have just been like local book clubs or something? Or I suppose fanzines were a thing back in the day, weren't they?
Yeah. Like, we sent it into a magazine and it was, like, circulated like that.
I think those had died out by the time I was old enough to know what this shit was.
Yeah, so, like, Reader's Digest and all that.
Oh, my days. I just unlocked another core memory.
Oh, yeah?
I don't think I should share it. When I reached the age of 18, I was gifted a holy magazine by my father.
Oh, okay.
Which was rather nice of him, because I'd been watching internet porn for years. But, you know, locking it away in the spank bank, as it were. But yes, I was gifted a magazine, and boy, it was filled with dirty stories, which was no doubt just fan fiction and not real in any way. So I guess that was a thing.
Yeah, back when literary pornography was a thing.
I think my first exposure to pornographic content was in fact fan fiction.
Sure.
There was a website, and I couldn't tell you what it was, but it was something like Yuri Lemons.
Okay.
Yuri, if you don't know, a term for lesbian doujins.
And lemons is the term for any raunchy fanfiction.
Well, because back in the day, fanfiction websites would police adult content because they were like, we need to have advertisers and we can't get advertisers if we're filthy.
Police said, no writing lemons.
I don't know why it's called this. I really don't, and I don't want to look it up. I'm interested, but not that interested. Plus, it's a term that's kind of gone away nowadays. But it was basically like lemon means hard sexual content. Lime means suggestive content, but not quite hardcore. And then there were some people who'd be really cutesy with things and be like, with hints of citrus.
Citrus hint?
Yeah, I know, right? It's cute, but funny. And a way to circumnavigate, like, any legal repercussions, I guess. But yeah, that was my first exposure to erotic literature at the sweet tender age of like 14 or 13, I don't know. Too young.
Sometimes when you're creating an OC, you got little choice but to do a little bit of recoloring, because like the My Little Pony ones, they're literally just the pony base, choice of colour, choice of hairstyle, arse tattoo, go.
I know that's all the cutie mark is, but it's really funny hearing it worded that way.
Abridged series format is another form of fan work. Some people have had success doing like Team 4 Star's Dragon Ball Z Abridged, but the first one was Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series, and Dragon Ball Z Abridged had the creator as Frieza, showing that there's camaraderie amongst creators, there's no bad blood. Fun fact, when he was auditioning for a different part, he had the placeholder as the alternating line, and they loved the alternating line so much, they picked him for Frieza instead.
Little Karibo has got got quite a fucking range, because some people tend to forget early days of Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, it was just Little Karibo.
Yeah, even now, he tries to do most of it because he likes keeping the characters the same. I think the only one he doesn't do anymore is Mai, because he can get a lady to do her now.
Man, I do appreciate the one episode where they've got Marek watching something on a TV screen. I can't do the voice justice, but I'm gonna try. It's just like, ha! This is my favourite part! And it cuts to, like, episode 3 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged at the end. He goes, don't forget, new episodes every week.
Yep.
And then he just laughs evilly.
I also like the bit where Yugi just goes, no, I really like the joke where they are Beavis and Butthead.
Meta stuff like that is always appreciated.
Because this has been going on for like 10 years now at this point.
Close enough to it. I feel like it started in like 2013. Maybe, was it earlier than that?
I think it was, because I think 2013 is around the time that Dragon Ball Z Abridged started.
I'm just guessing.
But damn near anything can have an Abridged series. Legally, these all fall under parody for the purpose of fair use, which has been upheld in court ever since Disney tried to sue the guys who made Sailor and the Seven Balls.
What?
It's a hentai of Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon and other things.
Why would Disney sue them?
Because that was when Disney bought Star Wars.
But Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z have nothing to do with Star Wars.
You'd think, but the second one has Darth Vader in it for some fucking reason.
Okay.
This fucking thing is so stupid. You know that it's a parody because of how dumb it is. And yet they had to bring up that this is so clearly a parody. You couldn't in any way believe that it was the original thing. And that's why they get away with it under fair use.
Okay.
So yeah, fan songs. Some of these things are completely original songs written about things that they love. The Discord song is probably the most famous things that I can think of in that vein. And it's so famous that it's even on your brother's phone.
It's not on his phone. He watches lots of TikToks and it's become a popular TikTok thing for some reason.
Okay.
But if we're talking about fan songs, I think we have to point and stare and laugh and enjoy what is the Undertale community once again.
Ah, yes.
The Stronger Than You parody song is great. I love it. I especially love the Sans version specifically. But there's also another one which, again, I should have fucking done a bit more prep work than I did. It's Papyrus and Sans rapping / singing about Welcome to the Underground. And someone even wrote some lyrics to go along with True Hero or whatever that piece of music is with Undyne.
Yeah. All of the regular songs in Undertale, I think, have been given fan lyrics. The one that I remember is Megalovania, and one of the beginning lines is, "In your eyes, a terror of a killer." It just flows really well for that little bit.
I get you, but I feel like adding lyrics to Megalovania makes it actually too much. Because there's so much going on in that piece of music as is.
Yeah, you got to be listening to the whole thing to be able to absorb even a third of it.
Like, the thing with the Stronger Than You parody is the background music, as we know, because we've watched it for the channel, of that song is slow, and therefore the song is slow, and you can hear each and every word.
Moving on from fan songs, fan fiction, as we talked about a little bit before, it has a bit of a low bar to entry, but a colossally high ceiling to quality, as well as a non-existent minimum quality floor. It's a bit of a Wild West where anything goes, for better or worse.
I actually want to commandeer the podcast for a time now.
Yep.
Here's a very interesting thing where every single form of fan media has a way of generating income and is relatively unchallenged in that regard. Fan fiction, however, is the bastard grey sheep of the family, where it is actually very heavily blocked and punished if you try to actually make money from it.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why, quite frankly. I understand it from the perspective of you're borrowing someone else's franchise, you're playing with their things. Technically, they should own everything because they came up with the base setting. I'm not disputing that. The piece of information that I take umbrage with and kind of challenge is that fan artists make money, fan songs make money to a certain degree, less so than fan art. There's a lot of things you can do with fandoms that generate income, but fan fiction is a big no-no, and I'm kind of like, that doesn't track. I'm not saying that you should fix that and make fan fiction a profitable thing where you can make income. I'm more the other way of, like, if you're punishing people making fan fiction, you should probably be more restrictive of other forms of media, which I know most people are probably going to be anti that. They're like, no, but you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I feel you. The difference between fan fiction and a book is whether or not it's been published.
I understand that, but people are frowned upon for making even, like, there's that website that's like Buy Me a Coffee.
Yeah.
Even doing that is grounds for punishment if the right person takes umbrage.
Yeah, it's a bit rough.
I'm not condoning people trying to make money off of other people's franchises, because obviously not cool, but even going to Japan, to the doujin industry, where people make fucking doujins of other people's work and can make money from it, it's a baffling one. Maybe if you do like a Buy Me a Coffee thing of like, hey, if you enjoyed this and you want to show thanks, give me a couple of quid to buy a coffee sometime, of maybe like taking a chunk out of that and that going to the original author. But I imagine a lot of original authors would be like, well, no, because I don't want my work to be written by anyone.
And also a lot of these people would go, well, I want 85% of that. that.
Yeah, that's ludicrous.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you should get a slice of the pie because you made the original base groundwork, but at the same time, someone has put more effort into this specific work, so it's such a grey area, and there's no solution that would make everyone happy, and I appreciate that. It's more that you look at certain fan works, like games in particular also get the same rap, actually, come to think of it. People who make fan games can't make money off of it, because then they will immediately get shut the fuck down.
Even the ones that are free get shut down. If the parent company is litigious and wants to protect their intellectual property, they will try and shut down any fan projects that get big. Nintendo shut down the remake of Metroid 2. It's fair enough because they did actually release their own version of it.
But here's where we're coming to a difference, because I'd say that's not a fan game if you're just remaking a thing that already exists. A fan game is like that Pokemon Clover you play.
Yeah. So Pokemon Clover uses the map of Red and Blue, but every single one of like 386 Pokemon is now a fake mon.
It's a meme game for Spurglords.
Yeah.
But you get where I'm coming from, where it's like, it's such an unbalanced and unfair judgment. It basically depends on what the parent industry thinks is okay. Like, everyone seems to think like, oh, fan art's fine, make as much fan art as you want, even sell it, we don't care. But fan fiction and fan games, no, fuck you, you're not allowed to do that shit.
I mean, it comes down to how much power the parent industry has, really. If you're making a fan film, then you got to be part of the film industry, and at that point, you're just part of the film industry.
I don't know, man. When it comes to fan films, the reason why I've got a bit of a bristling in that is it takes money to make and produce, sure, but the thing that kind of gets me is, again, you're making money off of it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean directly. I'm going to point to Bat in the Sun for this, where they make a lot of fan films. They used to do Superpower Beatdowns. I don't know if they still do, but the thing they're doing right now is the White Power Ranger fucking thing. I just know it's something based on the White Ranger, and I think the only reason they're getting a bit of credence is because Jason David Frank is in their corner.
Sure.
Their productions are pretty large scale, they're pretty high quality, and it takes money to do that, and they get their money from Patreon. People pay them money to do the things. And again, a large chunk of that is going to go into production costs. But here's the thing, is the producer, the director, the actors are all getting paid to be on set and make the thing. Therefore, it shouldn't really be allowed, because they're using someone else's franchise. Unless, of course, a chunk of the money is being used to pay for the rights. But this is Saban we're talking about, and they're fucking frugal, shall we say?
But yeah, fan fiction's a bit of a wild west. There's things like what ifs, there's fix, there's OC self-inserts, there's unofficial sequels.
There's a fuck ton of porn.
Lemons, limes, and hints of citrus, as you say.
Which they don't have to do anymore, because a website called Archive of Our Own exists, and they have an explicit rating, so people can just post porn without being secretive. But I should also stress, this is a private website, and they don't use advertisers. They rely solely on the community for donations once a year.
And expanded universes are just official fanfiction ecosystems with approved round tables of writers. Now, when Star Wars started their own expanded universe, they literally had a physical round table where they sat down with George Lucas and established the rules for what was okay within the expanded universe and what wasn't. And more expanded universes need to do this.
Yeah, there needs to be some baseline and some consistency.
Yeah, because this is back in 1990 or something, and yeah, there wasn't a precedent for fanfiction before that for Star Wars, but they decided, we want to make things. I have a vision for a new sequel set of books. A, is it okay to do this? B, other writers also want to get in on this, and they had some really good ideas, some of which are getting adapted now. There's rumblings that the Thrawn Trilogy, the first books that ever got written, are currently being adapted in The Mandalorian.
I ain't going to argue with that. Thrawn is a very interesting character, even if his backstory is slightly vague.
Yeah, well, that's part of what makes him interesting. He's a spooky, scary alien from space Pyongyang, and for some reason, he joined the Empire.
I mean, in the comics, he makes it clear that he thinks that the universe needs to be united in order to take on a threat that he doesn't expand upon.
Yeah, it's a threat that he knows exists because his culture is fighting against it.
He has a massive fucking, I wouldn't say argument, but heated discussion with Palpatine about how the Death Star's a bad idea, and Palpatine goes, how the fuck do you know I'm building a Death Star?
Yeah, because Thrawn thinks that the same amount of money and material and personnel can be put to use way better just by having 30 Star Destroyers.
It's one of the reasons why him and Darth Vader kind of don't clash a lot, because Darth Vader also thinks a Death Star is a dumb idea, but Palpatine's his master.
Yeah, they actually have a lot of respect for one another. They don't get on because they don't do the the same things, but they have respect for each other. Now, we're going to get to a couple of fanfiction examples that we can't have an episode like this without. The first one we're going to talk about is My Immortal.
My Immortal is a fun one because it is universally lauded as the worst fanfiction ever.
Yeah, you said, when doing the research for this episode, you just googled bad fanfiction, and then it shows up as the first one.
Yeah. It's so bad, everyone pretty much agrees it has to have been parody. And the author who claims to have helped co-write it even says, yeah, it's parody. But at the same time, if you're claiming to have written this, then you've got no choice but to claim it as parody.
Yeah. Either that or show your actual age and reveal that you were actually 10.
I believe they were actually like 13, 14 when they wrote this, allegedly. But yes, the original upload of My Immortal doesn't actually exist anymore. It got deleted for some reason or another, and it got re-uploaded in many places, including back again on fanfiction.net by one Midnight Essence, which is an edgy as fuck name.
Yeah, My Immortal itself is the name of an Evanescence song.
Indeed.
And it's so over the top that it has to be a parody. It encapsulates everything that's wrong with fanfiction in the best way. The main character is a hauntingly perfect black hole of plot and attention. Oh yeah, every main character is now a Slytherin, including Harry, who's now renamed to Vampire and is a vampire because Harry Potter himself was too boring of a concept for Harry Potter.
For what it's worth, I've read the first 4 books of Harry Potter, and Harry Potter is a very blank slate. The problem is they want someone that the person reading can project themselves onto, which unfortunately that is too broad of a thing to actually write a good character for, so the character ends up being quite a blank slate.
That's the thing with Harry, he is a reactionary window. He has the plot happen to him.
Anyway, I suggested this trick of, well, I found it, and chapter 1 and 2 are so short they're both on the same page, so fuck it.
Go for it.
Do you guys want to hear the first 2 chapters of My Immortal?
Yes, please.
We start with chapter 1, AN, which means author's note. Special thanks, get it cause I'm gothic, she spells it as fangs with a Z instead of thanks, to my GF, ooh, not in that way, Raven, Bloody Tears 666 for helping me with the story and spelling, you rock. Justin, you are the love of my depressing life, you rock too, MCR rocks. I'm assuming that means My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
That was all done in text speak, but that was also an author's note, so we'll forgive it.
Yep.
On to the story itself. I'm going to read this with spelling errors, if there are any, which I assume there will be.
It's fine. We had Sonic the Hedgehog. We even missed that it was Hedgehog until after.
I've read so much bad fan fiction in my life, and by that I mean poorly written grammatically and spelling-wise, that my brain does do a semi-competent job of just auto-correcting for me.
Yeah, so if we overcorrect, then it's to our credit.
Yeah, we're not trying to do this fanfic that is notorious any justice. So, here we go.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven Way, and I have long ebony black hair, in brackets, that's how I got my name, with purple streaks and red tips that reaches my mid-back, and icy blue eyes like limpid tears, and a lot of people tell me I look like Amy Lee. Author's note, if you don't know who she is, get the hell out of here. Cool. There were no commas in that sentence. I'm not related to Gerard Way, but I wish I was, because he's a major fucking hottie. I'm a vampire, but my teeth are straight and white. What? Okay. I have pale white skin. I'm also a witch. I go to a magic school called Hogwarts in England, where I'm in the 7th year. I'm 17. I'm a goth, in case you couldn't tell, and I wear mostly black. I love Hot Topic, and I buy all my clothes from there. For example, today I was wearing a black corset with matching lace around it and a black leather miniskirt, pink fishnets, and black combat boots. Now, here's a bit of advice for people who want to write stuff. Unless it's important to the plot, you don't need to go into that much detail about what a character's fucking wearing.
Yep.
But yeah, pink fishnets and black combat boots. I was wearing black lipstick, white foundation, black eyeliner, and red eyeshadow. I was walking outside Hogwarts. It was snowing and raining, so there was no sun, which I was very happy about. A lot of preps stared at me. I put up my middle finger at them. Hey, Ebony! Shouted a voice. I looked up. It was fucking 4 dots for ellipses. What the fuck? Draco Malfoy. What's up, Draco? I asked. Nothing, he said shyly. But then I heard my friends call me, and I had to go away. That's the end of the chapter. Author's note. Is it good? Please tell me. Fangs.
Fangs, yeah.
Do you want to hear chapter 2?
Sure, why not?
Chapter 2 is on the same page because these chapters are short as fuck, thank God. Okay. Chapter 2. Author's note. Thanks to Bloody Tears 666 for helping me with the chapter. She types like an orc in the author notes.
Yeah. So Bloody Tears 666, I think, is the author that came forward.
PT Dubs, prep stop flaming my story, okay? It could also be Lumpy Space Princess.
Oh my god, stop flaming my story. Ebony Dementia Darkness Raven Way.
This chapter does not fucking pick up from where chapter 1 ended. It's so baffling. Anyway, chapter 2. The next day, I woke up in my bedroom. It was snowing and raining again. Can't do both at the same time. That doesn't work. I opened the door of my coffin and drank some blood from a bottle I had. Oh, Jesus. My coffin was black ebony, and inside it was a hot pink velvet with black lace on the ends. I got out of my coffin and took my giant MCR t-shirt, which I used for pyjamas. What? Oh, right, she meant to say took off, but it's actually took of.
Okay, took of my...
So my brain just kind of ignored the word of because it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, took a piece of my t-shirt, yeah.
Instead, I put on a black leather dress, a pentagram necklace, combat boots, and black fishnets on. I put on 4 pairs of earrings in my pierced ears and put my hair in a kind of messy bun. My friend Willow, author's note, Raven, this is you, woke up and then grinned at me. She flipped her long, waist-length raven black hair with pink streaks and opened her forest green eyes. She put on her Marilyn Manson t-shirt with a black mini, fishnets, and pointy high-heeled boots. We put on our makeup, black lipstick, white foundation, and black eyeliner. OMFG! I saw you talking to Draco Malfoy yesterday, she said excitedly. Yeah, so, I said, blushing. Do you like Draco? She asked as she went out of the slithering common room and into the great hall. No, I so fucking don't, I shouted. Yeah, right, she exclaimed. Just then, Draco walked up to me. Hi, he said. Hi, I replied, flirtily. Guess what? He asked. He said. What? I asked. Well, Good Charlotte are having a concert in Hogsmeade, he told me. Oh my fucking God, I screamed. I love GC. They are my favourite band besides MCR. Well, do you want to go with me? He asked. I gasped. That's it.
Little side note, Raven, as in Raven this is you, is her friend, and later on in the story she falls out with Raven and changes Ebony's name from Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven Way to Ebony Dementia Darkness Tara Way. Because she's fallen out with a friend Raven.
That is very, very silly, but at the same time, super believable.
Yeah, very on brand for 13-year-olds.
I want to point out, I'm not an expert on Harry Potter lore, but I'm pretty sure regular human bands don't just show up and play music for the Hogwarts students.
No.
But yeah, that was chapter 1 and 2 of My Immortal. Don't read it.
If My Immortal is the question, then there is an answer, and it is 30 H's. This is the alternative version of My Immortal, and this is where Harry Potter, instead of being written by a 13-year-old girl, it's been written by a 13-year-old boy. And to quote TV tropes, action prologue. It begins with Harry and Dobby wearing space armor adorned with groin saws and lightning-splitting skulls, fighting astronauts from hell. It only gets more ridiculous from there.
Why are you writing Harry Potter fanfiction in space, bro?
Like, this is the kind of stupid 1970s drug-fueled, ridiculous awesome that nerds live for.
But Dobby in power armor?
This is the joyously stupid, over-the-top romp that gives us Fuckslayer, a guitar from the dimension where all screamed for naught, wrought from the silver heart of heaven's false promise, laced with the vessels which pulsed with angels' menstrual blood, hewn from the horns of Satan's generals. And yes, that's a direct quote.
Did Jack Black write this?
He might as well have done. So while My Immortal is only overwhelmingly probably a parody, 30H's absolutely is, and it loves every moment of it.
Oh, fuck it, if you're going to do a parody, then go balls to the walls, absolutely.
Yeah, man, the thing that I love about that is I love the word Fuckslayer so much that I've just taken that name and I use it for things like whenever I have a horse in the game, my first horse is normally going to be called Fuckslayer. But yeah, that's us coming to the end of our foray through fan stuff. Hopefully we're not taking up too much of your time. If you've made it this far, you are a...
Yo. Favourite moments and shit.
I mean, okay. Do you have a favourite moment from fan stuff?
Yeah, okay, I see the problem now.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're going to forgo that. Take Rick's hint, and what were you saying, Rick?
If you've made it this far, you are our favourite people. And if you'd like to get in contact with us, we have the comment section on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on one of our audio platforms, you have our email address, which is...
nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. Once again, that is nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com.
That's going to be thank you and goodbye from me.
On a special note, if you are a fan writer, a fan artist, a fan producer of any kind, keep doing what you're doing and keep it weird. See you next time.
Bye!